So
all right.
Our next speaker is Cartini. She is a venture capitalist with a proven track record on fundraising, recruiting top founders, managing portfolio companies, promoting the firm movement, and making investment decisions. She represents a new service-oriented VC. In addition to the Chloe Capital, Kate is the CMO/COO of the Upstate Venture Connect and the owner of Peacock Media, a content marketing company that works with investors, founders, and personal brands. In these roles, Kate excels as a business coach and promoter, having connected hundreds of founders with investors. So let's welcome Kate and her presentation.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome, Kate.
Or
it's good to have you here.
Everyone. Thank you so much. Happy International Women's Day. I suppose that's what we're celebrating right now.
Thank you.
Now, I know that I do have slides. Shall I present them? And if someone can assist me with that, I would really be appreciative.
Yeah, Linda, if you could show your screen, there's a button that you can use at the bottom of the Google Meet and to present your screen.
Here, if you hover the screen, it's in the right-hand side.
Great. I'm going to start sharing now.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh boy. I have to grant permission. So already we're messing up here.
Oh, no worries, no worries. This is just this is how it goes when we do these live events like that. We had what was it with Firefox? I think that was the issue that Arissa just had, trying to update Chrome, right? Be in the wrong browser. I finally, I personally had to do this. It took me a long time, and finally someone at work was like, go into your settings and, you know, and because it's always wanting to make sure it's not sharing your screen illegally, right? And trying to protect us from ourselves.
New feature that they added in top for the security. So I guess, and this was a new update, and everybody.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we're going to have to pivot here. I know that I've sent in my slides. So if somebody, Linda, if you would like to present them, that'd be the best option.
1 second. I will share my screen. Oh, yeah.
Happy birthday, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Hannah's title.
And happy birthday to you also. The other day was your... 1 second. I'm almost...
Jennifer will be speaking a little bit later today. She has a talk on childhood stories and our future selves. So we expect to get into Jennifer's talk a little bit later today, about 4:45.
Fantastic. All right, so this is me here. Wonderful. And if you can still hear me, so here's...
You sound great.
Female founders, right now, female founders of high growth companies receive only 2% of venture capital funding in the US. Next slide. Which really doesn't make any sense when study after study shows that companies led by women pull in more sales, exit faster, and produce greater returns for investors. What's more, experts say that if women and men participated equally as entrepreneurs, we could boost the global economy by $5 trillion. With this kind of impact and opportunity staring us in the face, we just couldn't sit back any longer. Chloe Capital is a seed stage venture capital firm, and we invest in women. The firm was founded by 4 little ladies from upstate New York to create opportunities for women on both sides of the table. Because how are female founders ever going to receive funding with so few women investors writing checks? Unleashing the power of women entrepreneurs requires action from a range of groups. That's why we set out on a national tour in partnership with foundations, universities, and corporations to raise millions for female founders together. And it all began in Hudson Valley, and we won't play this video right now, but it all began in Hudson Valley in upstate New York about 3 years ago when we invested in a woman from Ann Arbor, Michigan, a mother of 5, and she is the founder of Mi Padrino, an online event planning platform for the Hispanic community. And I had no idea, but quinceañeras, the 15-year-olds party, they're $25,000 a piece. And the padrinos are the uncles, and the uncles pay for this platform. Well, so there we are in Hudson Valley, and we gathered all of our friends from Ostia Angels and Portfolio and Pipeline Angels, and then we tagged some women who, some of them had never even invested before. And it was really just about teaching us all on how to invest so we could get more women entrepreneurs on bat. And Kim, she was in Ann Arbor, Michigan, with a baby bump and 4 kids at home, and no one was giving her a chance. They said, how are you going to run a company when all of those kids at home, are your kids going to be latchkey kids? Is my money going to go to pay for diapers? She heard it all. So when she came to us, she literally had $6,000 in the bank. We gave her a very small pre-seed investment of $50,000, but it was magic what happened in their room that day. Someone said, you know what? I know the founder of The Knot, and The Knot is a wedding platform, wedding event platform. And she said, you know, I betcha if we connected Kim with Carly, that Carly would teach her the ropes and she would open up her network and introduce her to all of her investors and her support team. And FYI, The Knot is owned by the XO Group, which is now the Wedding Wire, a publicly traded company. The Knot, the Bump, the Nest owns them all. So we played the card right. We gave her just $50,000 in pre-seed funding. But because of the relationships in that room that day, 1 year later, we were able to catalyze a $2 million seed round with Ostia Angels participating, Portfolio and Pipeline, all the people that were in that room, but also with the XO Group being the lead investor at the table, taking a board seat, making this a strategic partnership with acquisition possibilities. Now, as we head into Q3, we're looking at about a $5 million Series A, of which Chloe Capital will be able to execute our preemptive rights to participate. So that's how we're gaining real returns for our investors while being a seed stage venture capital firm. Next slide. So we're doing well. Our impact has really been extreme. In less than 3 years, Chloe Capital is doing well, or shall I say real well. We've hosted 10 programs now and made 10 investments. And our portfolio of seed investments are valued at about 60 million. We're also doing good. All of our companies are 100% led by women who range in ethnicity, and together we've helped create at least 75 new jobs. So that's led us to this crowning achievement. This year alone, in partnership with ECMC Foundation, Chloe Capital has deployed $1.25 million in capital to women defining the future of work and education. And here's how they're rising up during the pandemic. Beck is using her prefab home kits to create quarantine shelters in Seattle. Jana is a platform that helps hospitals connect to nurses. And Beth is helping hundreds of remote teams treat each other with respect and maintain productivity while they work from home. And for all of those who didn't catch our first virtual Invest in Women experience on Tuesday night, I'd like to share Chloe Capital's latest investment in Jamie Herbert. BridgeCare helps employees find and pay for childcare using pre-taxed dollars. But it's not just about the funding that is helping to make these women and companies, next slide please, a success. Invest in Women to us means so much more than writing a check. And here's why. Next slide. In fact, over 10,000 people around the world are assisting Chloe Capital by recruiting, performing due diligence, providing connections to talent, clients, and other investors. This is why Chloe Capital is being recognized as a movement to invest in women. Even celebrities call Chloe Capital the way forward. And you can participate too. Please go to chloecapital.com and sign up for our newsletters. We are not afraid to ask for help. So please be on the lookout for ways you can join our movement to invest in women. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That's great. Wow, that's a lot of information.
So nice to see that women can succeed and there are other women making, facilitating this role.
Absolutely.
You said early on, how did you make the connection with the first company?
So it was the power of, it was the power of our community. One of our advisors, Marta Michelle Collins, is part of the Hispanic community in Alhambra, and she knew of Kim and the impact she was having. So it's really a call to arms for us when we look for talent. We like to invest outside of Silicon Valley because there is tremendous opportunity and underrepresented voices in these external cities. And that's how we originally found Kim Gamez. She, again, had that baby bump during our due diligence process, which is about 3 months long, of doing uncover and discover investigation. So during that time, she had her baby Lucy, the fifth baby. And when we had our program in Hudson Valley, she brought Lucy with her to the program and her mother. And when we stepped out of the deliberations room, the baby was hungry and she went to the back of the room to breastfeed. And when we announced her to give her that big silly check, she had but no choice but to throw the blanket over Lucy and come up to the front of the room. And you can actually see in the picture Lucy's little feet sticking out from underneath the blanket. And that's when we realized that it wasn't just about getting more women to invest. It was about finding the best of the best founders, female founders, based on merit and wrapping all of our networks around them so they can succeed. Because again, invest in women really does mean so much more than writing a check. And even though we only gave her $50,000, again, because of all the connections and everyone who was willing to support her, as you saw 2 years later, she had that 2 million series seed round, and now we're getting ready for a 5 million Series A.
That's so amazing. I really admire your job and Chloe Capital job in supporting women and
If you have if there's someone on the attending this event and they're curious, how do they get themselves in the position of some of these other companies that you've invested in? What makes them ready?
Sure. So Chloe Capital's investment thesis is pretty cut and dry. We are definitely looking for high growth companies that have the potential to service national and international customers. All of our founders, of course, are women. It's required for us that you must have at least 20% ownership on the cap table, meaning that you are in an executive position and you're making decisions on behalf of the company. Now, this does not mean that you actually have to be a founder. It doesn't mean that you have to be a CEO. Maybe you're the CMO, CFO, COO, as long as you're in that executive suite, again, with 20% on the cap table. We also only invest in tech and tech-enabled companies because these are the companies that have the power to be pandemic proof. And as you see from our portfolio of 10 companies, none of them are sitting on the sidelines right now. All of them have charged into the fire. They're still operating. They are doing whatever they can to help other people and even save lives during the pandemic. So that's what we're looking for. Instead of small businesses, these are high growth companies that have the potential to be acquired or even become publicly traded companies on the New York Stock Exchange.
I think we have.
Here's another question. What if people want to invest? So instead, what if you don't have a business? Arissa, because Arissa asks, in what ways can you get involved with the Chloe Capital and the movement? And then, yep, which is another question.
Sure. So there is no shortages of ways that you can get involved in the movement. Right now, we've got over 10,000 people. And when I say that they're all doing something, they're doing something. It can be as little as following us on social media and tweeting. You know, there are powers in numbers and people attract people, all the way up to investing in our fund. You have to, of course, be an accredited investor to invest in the fund, and via solicitation laws, there's really not too much that I can say about that. And I know that this is being recorded, but if anyone is interested in learning more about any of the range of areas, then you can always contact me offline or contact any of us over at Chloe Capital.
Sounds like there's a lot of ways to be involved. A lot of opportunities there. Let's see. Jennifer has a question. Any tips for woman founders to give themselves an edge when they're looking for investors?
Yes. So right now is our time, ladies. This has nothing to do with Me Too. As a matter of fact, I hate talking about Me Too, but this certainly has to do with the rise of power. And here's the deal. We are not used to being in positions of power. So in times of crisis, you see that women leaders are standing up and they're being recognized as experts of industry, because this is what we've always been known to do. We haven't had any choice. We either rise up and we make it work, or we don't get a seat at the table at all. What prevents us from moving forward in the past is the fact that because we haven't had that power, we are faced with so much fear. Fear that we're not going to get asked to the prom. Fear that our husbands are going to leave us for younger women. Fear that our bosses are going to fire us if we don't put in those extra hours on nights and weekends to get that project done. So many reasons why we've been held back over the years. But again, in these times of crisis, when so many people's brains are cluttered and they just don't know where to go and what to do, you'll see that our founders, many of them with toddlers at home, some of them with husbands who are in the healthcare profession, are still running these high growth companies, raising money, servicing companies like Walmart, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, so many with babies on their hips, and they're doing this without a blip. So it is now our time. We just have to run into the fire. And those who run into the fire and make it out the other side, I promise you, based on experience, that you will receive the rewards during the next economic boom. And that normally happens on a 10-year cycle, every decade or so.
So this is there's another question, and I think this actually ties into some of the previous talks. Something that's scary about technology and software is the language, right? There's big words that you don't know, or even small words you don't know, and it's just intimidating. Someone asks, can you explain more how the different series of rounds work? Example, what's the difference between seed round, series A? And these are a lot of terms that probably should come with definitions. And that's a question from Anne-Marie.
Sure, absolutely. Hi, Anne-Marie. Love you very much. You're amazing. One of my role models for sure. So in venture capital or in investing, they like to have these rounds that really are based on what stage you are as a company. So if you're a pre-seed company, that means that you might not be generating any revenue yet. You have an idea. You maybe have a prototype, you're doing customer discovery, you're trying to get into the market. And pre-seed generally comes from your friends and family, from your local angel investors, from community foundation grants. And then once you receive that money, you take it to commercialize. Take your product and service and get it into the market so you can start generating those dollars. And that's when you hop over into a seed round. In a seed round, you could face venture capital funding like us. We're definitely a seed venture capital firm. These are smaller checks. You'll receive more smaller checks to make up the length of your round. But typically what we'll see is that people are in the market and they are generating some kind of financial return. And if they're not, they're experiencing some other KPIs or metrics to value their company. What are these other metrics? Well, it could be that last year you had 50 followers on Facebook, and this year you've got 1 million followers on Facebook. It could mean that you received a ton of press. Whatever it is, you lead with your highest and best numbers moving forward. That's why I love to say in the past 6 months alone with ECMC Foundation, we've deployed $1.25 million of capital. And throughout our tour, just for our portfolio companies alone, we have helped them raise an additional $10 million in capital. And now you get your Series A round, and you have a monthly reoccurring revenue, annual reoccurring revenue, and it is based on those customers and those partnerships and how quickly you've been able to get from point A to point B.
That's a lot. That's great. That's really helpful information. Yep. Let's see here. We're almost out of Q&A time. I just want to make sure if anybody has one, you can squeeze it in. It looks like that was the last one in chat was the question about the Series A and that. So thank you so much for that. That was a lot of good information.
Thank you.
I hope everyone's excited hearing what's possible.
Absolutely. And I actually have one more thing that I want to share. Listen, we all don't have to be high growth founders to make an impact, to feel worthy, to have value within our communities. We can all do things that are creating jobs and helping other people. And as mentioned, we had our first virtual event on Tuesday. Over 600 people logged into this experience. And I've been receiving some really beautiful comments since then. But here's one I'd like to share. I want to thank you for an amazing experience in watching Chloe Capital and ECMC event this week. I see incredible impact you've made on these impressive companies founded by women. What I want you to know is that not only was funding provided this week, but you planted some seeds in the next generation of women business leaders. I received an exciting email from one of my students. I just met with her the other day. She lost her internship this summer, but rather than get discouraged, she was so inspired by what she witnessed at your event that she is launching her own business this summer. Thank you for what you do. Wanted to let you know the ripple effects. So, dream and you will achieve. And I just wish everyone the best of luck. Women, really, ladies, now is your time. Grab that brass ring.
Wow. Thank you so much. It's so inspiring to hear you talking. I could stay here for hours and hours and listen to you. Thank you so much, Kate. You and Chloe Capital team are doing such a great job investing in women. It's not so easy, and you make it so easy for women to do.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
So
thank you. Have a great holiday weekend, everyone.
You too. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.